Two coworkers leave the same building on the same Friday. Same elevator, same nod to the guard, same parking garage, cars 4 spaces apart. See you Monday. Same job title, different floors. Same paycheck, spent on the same groceries, the same bills, the same 5 o'clock tired. 20 years later, one of them doesn't set an alarm. Money arrives on its own in amounts larger than his salary ever was. The other is still in that building, grayer, still trading Mondays for dollars, hoping his knees hold out 10 more years. No inheritance, no lottery ticket. One decision, made years before it mattered, repeated so quietly, it stopped feeling like a decision. Picture every paycheck as a river that splits the moment it lands. One branch feeds a fountain, dinners out, nicer cars, the vacation that makes the year feel earned. It sprays beautifully into the air, and by month's end, it's gone. The other branch runs into a reservoir. Nobody compliments a reservoir at a dinner party. It doesn't catch the light. For years, it just sits there, filling, drop by drop, until it isn't. Most people assume the fountain gets paid first, and whatever survives goes to the reservoir. But there's rarely anything left. There's always one more reasonable expense, urgent in the moment, forgotten a year later. The two were never splitting leftovers. They were competing for first position, and most people never notice the competition is happening. The number that decides everything isn't income. It's the percentage of each paycheck that reaches the reservoir before anything else touches it. Priya is 39, runs a marketing team in Denver. Her household income says she's made it. She maxes her retirement account every January, on schedule. We invest, she says, with real pride. She isn't wrong. She's just not finishing the sentence. Past that minimum, nearly everything drains into the fountain. The mortgage in the better district, the leased SUV traded in every 3 years, 2 trips a year because the kids should see the world. None of it looks reckless. Each purchase alone is defensible. That's what makes it dangerous. Lifestyle creeps in one upgrade at a time, quietly resetting what normal means. If nothing changes, Priya won't be poor at 65. She'll be something quieter and crueler. Technically wealthy, functionally tight. Awake at midnight doing math she can't undo. She doesn't need a bigger paycheck. She needs to change which river gets paid first. Call them the Bennetts and the Osays. Same suburb, same income, both 40, both with 2 kids in good public schools, both maxing retirement accounts. At the same backyard barbecue, you couldn't have told their futures apart. The Osays made one adjustment, early, and rarely thought about it again. The day each paycheck landed, a slice moved straight into the reservoir before it ever touched checking. Cars a few years old, paid off. One big trip every other year, instead of every year. The Bennetts lived a little louder, in the most ordinary way. A newer car every few years, Europe every summer, private school once the kids hit middle school. Every choice reasonable, made by people who felt they'd earned some room to breathe. For years, the difference was invisible. Not small, invisible. Then the curve broke. No dramatic mourning, just small differences. Finally, crossing a line neither family saw coming until it was behind them. The Osays reservoir had grown into something that no longer needed them, producing more in a year than either had earned working. They didn't retire so much as stop needing permission to stop. The Bennett's reservoir had grown too, just not enough to meet the life it now had to support. They weren't poor. They'd simply built a life that required them to keep being young, because the fountain had never once stopped needing them. Almost nobody trusts willpower with a 30-year promise. And they shouldn't. It runs out exactly when you need it most. The month the transmission dies. The week the kitchen looks dated. The year a friend's vacation photos make your own plans feel small. People who build a reservoir large enough to buy back their time don't out-discipline everyone else for 3 decades. They build a system that removes the decision entirely. The money leaves before it feels like theirs to spend. Systems beat motivation. Automation beats willpower every time it's tested. There's one more thing nobody tells you going in. Somewhere along the way, the reservoir stops feeling like sacrifice. The fountain pays you back instantly, which is why it's so easy to trust. The reservoir makes you wait, sometimes for decades, offering nothing in return but its own quiet, accumulating weight. That waiting is the only part of this that requires real courage. Which brings us back to the parking garage. Same elevator, same nod to the guard, same Friday evening, the sun dropping behind the same row of buildings. Nobody watching those 2 coworkers walk to their cars could have seen what was coming, because the difference was never visible. It was a decision so small, so easy to put off until next month, that one of them made it without ever knowing how much weight it carried. One of them built a reservoir without telling anyone. The other kept admiring his fountain and never asked where the water was going. The fountain was never going to make anyone rich. The reservoir remembers every drop.
In the end, it was never really about money. It was about the decisions you made every single month without even realizing you were making them. Because there is no single moment that changes your financial future. No dramatic turning point. Just small choices, repeated so often they stop feeling like choices at all. One more upgrade, one more "we've earned this," one more payment that feels too small to matter. And then years pass, and you tell yourself you're living life, but in reality, you're just maintaining it. The truth is uncomfortable, but simple. The fountain always feels alive because it gives you instant comfort, excitement, and reward, but it never builds anything that lasts. While the reservoir stays silent, invisible, and unimpressive. It doesn't look like progress in the beginning and doesn't feel like success at first, but over time, it becomes everything. And one day, you wake up and realize you're no longer making decisions based on urgency. No more waiting for payday. No more quiet anxiety at the end of the month. No more trading time just to stay afloat.
Just space. Just options. Just time that finally belongs to you. And in that moment, you understand something most people never do. You didn't just build wealth, you bought back your life. And the truth is, the fountain is easy to trust because it rewards you instantly, while the reservoir feels meaningless at the start because it doesn't give anything back. It only takes. No applause, no feedback, no visible progress for a long time. And that's exactly why most people quit too early, because they mistake silence for failure. But systems don't fail in silence. They grow in it. Motivation doesn't last. Willpower breaks under pressure. But systems don't depend on how you feel. And that's where the real gap appears, between people who build quietly for years and people who stay stuck, waiting to feel ready. So if you're watching this and thinking about starting later, understand this. Later is where most people disappear. Because every delayed month doesn't just delay your wealth, it feeds someone else's future instead. And if you're still here right now, watching until the end, then you already understand more than most people ever will. So don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for motivation. So don't wait for clarity. Start small. Start imperfect. Just start. And if this idea hits something in you and you want more videos like this about money, mindset, and the psychology behind wealth, then subscribe to the channel. Because we don't just talk about making money here, we talk about changing the system you use to build your life. See you in the next one.